the recording, just so that you know. If you could keep yourself muted, that would be good. So today is another one of our best practices webinars. We've been doing this regularly, and we will continue to do this regularly, and the recording will be posted up on our website. So if you ever need to refer back to this, you can just go to our website. It might be a few days before we get this session posted. We'll let everybody know when it's posted. Today's session has to do with setting up user dashboards and batch reports. And the purpose of these webinars in general is to make sure that you're getting the most out of our product that you can. I mean, as you know, the product is very robust. There's a lot of capabilities in it, but in this case, the dashboards and the batch reports I felt are really key elements to using this tool in the context of best practices. So let me start by saying, when you're generating usage reports in the tool, you have three ways. You have interactive. You can go in through port 8181 or through port 8182 and kind of browse around until you find the usage report that you want. The second kind is on demand. These are reports that you know you're going to need to go to regularly, frequently, but they're not at any prescribed period of time. And what you can do with our tool is set up a favorite in your browser or set up a hyperlink in a user dashboard. I'll talk more about what a dashboard is in a minute, but you can just click on that favorite or that hyperlink and get right to the report that you want with the most current data in it. So there are going to be certain kind of reports that are ideal for this on-demand capability. And the third kind of report is something that you're going to want regularly. You or management is going to want the report weekly. You're going to want the report monthly or quarterly. And so we call those batch reports. And I'll show you, actually I'm going to do demonstration after I go through some slides here, and I'll show you how you actually do it in the product. But those batch reports can be created in the middle of the night and then just sent out through email or through deposited into a folder on a regular routine basis. So we're going to talk today about the on-demand reports and the batch reports. So on-demand reports would be things like current checkout reports. These are perfect for a one-click. I want to see everything currently checked out across all my servers, or I only want to see certain kinds of tools checked out. What's the current checkout status? You can use the overview page, current overview, and see everything, or you can use the gas gauges. I assume you're all up to 9.x and you have the gas gauges, which is a very cool way of seeing current checkout status on demand. And you can see all of your tools that are currently checked out, or you can set up a page which is just selected tools on a page. Another report that's good for on demand is the heat maps. You want to look at the heat map is the 24/7/7 way of looking at checkouts. And when you're getting the most intense checkout activity, or when you're getting the least amount of checkout activity, you might want to direct access to that report for your critical features. Maybe not every feature, but the most critical features. A critical feature is one that's typically expensive or one that have high contention. And you may want to give these heat map links to engineers so they can see, when's the best time to get a license. At the same time, we also do denial heat maps, so you might want to give those as well to the engineers so they know when not to go looking for a license, because that's when you're getting the most denials. Again, a heat map for denials is the same 24/7 view of denials. Or lastly, like user details, which gives the table. It shows you everybody that currently has the licenses checked out and for how long. You should be familiar with that report. Again, you may want a one-click link to that user detail report for your expensive and ones that are in high contention. So these are just typical on-demand reports. Anything can be set up for on demand. The key here is that these are reports that you're going to save as a favorite or have in your user dashboard, that when you click on them, it'll bring up that specific report with the most current data in it. So if it's a 7-day report, it's going to be the last 7 days. If it's a 30-day report, it's going to be the last 30 days worth of data. If it's a current checkout report, it's going to be the current checkout data. Here's some examples of these reports that I'm referring to here. So current checkout overview. This is the overview report. You should all be familiar with that. It lists all the features that are currently checked out, the associated tag name, how many licenses you own, and how many are currently used. And in version 9.1, you also can see reserved licenses. So this is current data, real-time data. You can also see that as a gas gauge. Again, a gas gauge is the same thing. It just looks like a gas gauge in your car. And if you keep this page open every 10 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever your cron interval is for LMstat data collection, these are going to be constantly changing throughout the day. So this is an ideal page to have as set up as an on-demand link. It gives you the exact current status, and obviously it's color coded. And if you want to see the detail, you want to get to the detail page, you just click on the blue link underneath, and that brings up all the detail, who has it checked out. So you can have literally dozens, hundreds of these gas gauges on one page, or you can have just the selected ones. You could have just the MATLAB ones on one link. You could have just NX on another link. However you want to set it up, it's all possible. So again, just overview or selected overview. You can filter to whatever specifically you want here in this box, or you can do the gas gauges, either all or selected features. This is a typical heat map, just so you can see what it is. If you haven't seen it, usually it's a 7-day or a 30-day report that shows current checkout activity on a 24/7 basis. This is your 24 hours in a day. This is your 7 days of the week. And the dark red is where you're getting the most intense checkout activity. So, and the blue is no checkouts. No checkout activity. So an engineer can look at this and get an idea, when licenses are more likely available, or when you might be getting denials. You might get denials when these dark red spots, not sure. This is the same concept, heat map, but just showing the denials. This is the current checkout detail report, which shows, who has licenses currently checked out. In this case, MATLAB, how long they've been checked out for. And this is a nice one also that you might want to put on demand, because it gives you more detail on who has them checked out currently. Again, this is real-time data, and you can sort from longest checkout to shortest checkout. And you can access the Active Directory information on the users just by clicking on the link here, if you want to know who that person is. So if you're putting this out to your engineers on demand, they could see who has licenses checked out and for how long. Now this remove button, this is 9.1. It executes an LM remove command. If you have permissions, you obviously need to have the correct permissions. So this is a very useful report to put, either set it up as a favorite or as a hyperlink in your dashboard. So what a little bit about favorites. So favorite is directly associated with the browser that you are using. So each person is going to have their own set of favorites. Each browser is going to have its own set of favorites. Just keep that in mind. But this is a favorite just like any other bookmark, whatever you want to call it. The URL that creates the report, you can just save it as a favorite in your browser. But there's a few caveats. One is you must save the URL from the 81 and 82 port. I'm assuming that you all know. I'll demonstrate how you get to the 8182 port. I'm assuming you all know about that link, but it has to be the 8182 port, because if you save the 8181 URL, where's that going to take you? Right to the login page, and you don't want that. You want to go directly to the report, and that has to be the 8182 port. You create the report that you want. Again, I don't care whether it's current checkout or a 7-day graph or 7-day table or something. You have to create that report first. And then you save that URL in your browser as a bookmark. But you give it a user-friendly name. Obviously, you're going to give it the name of the report that you're using. Just to give you a heads up, in 9.2, we're actually going to add another tab. In the usage, under usage, it'll be either in 8180 or 82. You can have a favorites tab, so you can save the link in under the favorites tab. We'll talk more about that when 9.2 comes out, which is later this year, probably sometime in December. But mostly the favorites are going to be in your browser, specific to your browser. And again, if you're switching between IE and Chrome and Firefox, you're going to need to save those favorites for each of those browsers respectively. I assume if you're just using one browser, then you won't have to worry about it. User dashboards is essentially the same thing, except instead of a favorite in your browser, you're saving that URL onto a page. And the page can be a SharePoint, it can be a Google Doc, it can be Word doc, it can be anything essentially that can handle a hyperlink. You save it as a hyperlink and then you rename it to something friendly. But again, you're saving the 8182 hyperlink and then giving it a user-friendly name. And I'm going to demonstrate how you do that in Internet Explorer. It depends on which. If you use SharePoint, may have a different way than Google Docs, but I'll show you in Word how you can change the hyperlink to a user-friendly name if you don't know how to do that already. Essentially, it's just editing the hyperlink. In IE, it's something called text to display. So I've got this document right here, this hyperlink. If I can get to the hyperlink, it won't let me get to the hyperlink. Okay, so so that's the hyperlink. I'll show you when I do this in Word. I'm going to save this page in Word. So I copy that hyperlink. Notice that I'm in the 8182 port, which is just these few tabs. And if I bring up Word, I'm using Word, but again, it can be anything else. So paste that. That's the URL. And so that's the hyperlink, but that's not very user-friendly. So I want to give it a new name. This is Word. I just right mouse click on the hyperlink and I give it edit hyperlink. And then I give it whatever name I want. I think this is, I don't know what this is, MATLAB, current checkouts, checkout detail. And when I do that, then the hyperlink, becomes something more intelligent. So that's how you change it. And so you can end up with a page full of these with user-friendly names. And I can, if I want, have a header up here. This is my user dashboard. And you could have many, many different dashboards, but that's the hyperlink that creates the report. If I just click on that hyperlink, it'll take me directly to the page that I wanted. That was the current overview. But essentially, I hope you're getting the point here. So in the dashboard, it's just save the URL from the 8182 view, paste it into whatever you choose for a medium, and then edit the hyperlink so that it has a nice user-friendly name. And there's no limit to how many of those hyperlinks you can have in a specific page. And when you click on that, it will generate that report with the most current data on demand. A couple of things I might suggest for dashboards and for favorites. Choose reports that will generate quickly. What you don't want to do is save a report that takes 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes to generate. Those are better set up as batch reports. So you want reports that will generate quickly. And you could have different dashboards for different people. Like you could have managers get one dashboard, one dashboard, engineers by discipline. So your mechanical engineers might get one dashboard, your electrical engineers might get a different dashboard depending upon the applications that they use. So there's really no limit to how many dashboards that you can have. This is an example of a dashboard. This happens to be Word. I'm sorry, this is PowerPoint. I'm in PowerPoint right now, but you can see underneath these names is the URL that creates the report. And if I click on that, it's going to bring up, the current report. And again, these are some of the potential medium that you could use. I would standardize. I would, make a decision on what you want to use for a medium: SharePoint, Google Docs, PDF, Word, Wiki. You could have an internal company wiki with these links in them. And we do have a document up on our website. If you go to teameda.com under resources, I believe it's under app notes or getting started. I don't remember what section, but you could just query it, creating user dashboards, and it explains essentially how you do it. It's not complicated. You just paste that URL here, edit the URL, and give it a user-friendly name, and then you could make these dashboards as big or as many as you want. Doesn't really matter. So they're essentially the same as you could save that as a favorite in your browser. Each of these could be a favorite in your specific browser. Or these, in this dashboard case, these are all shared links. So you can distribute this dashboard document to whoever you want. As I stated, you could have different dashboards for different people. I think once you get used to it, you might want to do a little training session internal to your company and show them how they can create their own dashboards. And people can make their own dashboards. It's not hard. But again, you can get the same result by saving each of these as a favorite in your browser. You also can add documentation if you wanted people to have access to your internal documentation or documentation up on our website. Anything up on our website can be added as a hyperlink accessible document. And there are literally tons of documents up there that may be interesting for some people, and you can add them to the dashboard. So I don't have any recommendation on what medium you choose. You need to decide that internally, and then kind of standardize on it if you can. Or you could have some documents on your wiki. You could have some not documents, but you could have some reports on your wiki. You could have some in SharePoint. However you want to set it up. But the more you can do to standardize on the medium, the better. So that's we talked about favorites and user dashboards. Now let's move over to batch reports. Again, batch reports are those reports that usually take a longer time to run, to create, and they're regularly scheduled: weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly. Those are the four options. Weekly being a 30-day report, weekly being a 7-day report, monthly being a 30-day report, quarterly 90, and 100 and 365 accordingly. So these are some common batch reports that you might consider. The history graph, and again, it can be a 7-day weekly, it can be a 30-day monthly history graph that you automatically get in the mail. The averages report makes a good batch report because that takes sometimes a long time to generate. A denials report may be useful to get that once a month or once a quarter. Concurrent use reports, zero usage. This is a very good batch report to get perhaps quarterly. So every 90 days you get a list of all the features that were not used in the last 90 days. If you're doing chargebacks on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis, these would make ideal batch reports. And you can do batch reports for user usage or group usage. And as you may be aware, we do provide the, I think 9.0, we started showing the chargeback percent. So you can real quickly do the chargebacks based on the percentage of use, percentage of time. You know, combined feature graphs where you have the same tool running on multiple license servers. This makes a good batch report on a monthly or quarterly basis. So general rule of thumb is weekly can be a good on-demand report, do it as a favorite or in your user dashboard. If it's beyond a week, I would go to batch. So monthly, quarterly, be better off as a batch report. So this is a typical history graph. This makes a good batch report to get, again, you can do weekly or monthly, and this is the history graph, which shows your capacity, your actual, and your average over that time period. This happens to be, if this graph looks strange, it's because this is 9.1, where it has more interactive capability now, where you can just move your mouse over and see the actual values. And 9.1 also has auto scaling. So if you have, 10,000 licenses and your usage is only down here around 100 or so, you might not actually see the usage patterns, but with auto scaling now in 9.1, you can actually see the usage, even if you have a high capacity. These might make good batch reports too. Who are your top 10 users in the last 90 days or last year, and find out, maybe you could get them a node lock license. It's cheaper. Concurrent use reports make good, say, monthly or quarterly batch reports. If you're not familiar, concurrent use is x-axis is the number of licenses that you own, and then the percentages of time at that level of concurrent checkout are on these little numbers add up to 100% here. This is a very important report, particularly if you're trying to determine how many licenses that do you need. And best practices suggest that you don't need 0 out here, but 5%. You can get rid of up to 5% of your licenses on this high end. That's what we recommend. You can choose how many you really need, but this is a very good report that you probably want to see maybe every 90 days. So that happens to be 24/7 concurrent use, and this is Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Same graph, but just different time periods. Zero use is a very good report to get every 90 days or every 6 months. It just shows you all the features at a given tag that are not being used. So, you might question, why do we need these? Are we paying for these? Can we get rid of these? And you might need to know that once every 6 months, particularly before your renewal time. But this makes a good batch report, say quarterly, just to keep on top of it. These are good batch reports, user detail or group detail reports, particularly if you're doing chargebacks. And this is a group detail report. So if you are showing usage by group, this shows you all your groups, how much they used, in this case, MATLAB on this server, this tag. And then these little percentages over here can be used to apply the cost back to the specific groups. And we can also do chargebacks against this specific engineer. But again, you're not going to do that every week. You're going to do that once a quarter or once every 6 months. So group detail report makes a good batch report. Oh, I saw a message come up from Paul. Let me see if I can answer that right now. In your demo portion, can you demo creating a zero-use batch report? Yes, I will. This is a group usage graph. We do have this in 9.
Guy,
Yeah.
I had a question earlier on an older topic that you were covering a little bit earlier about the 9.2 and the favorites tab that you were going to create.
Yep.
Question is that usage tab going to be for the individual user on his own machine, or is it going to be set up so that I could have that favorites tab for the organization to be using as their favorites tab?
It'll be available to the organization, and it'll be available either in 8181 or 8182.
Thank you.
Okay. Denials reports. Again, you don't need to know denials every week, but you might want to know denials monthly or quarterly, and you can filter that based on error codes. So denial reports might be good. I'm not sure that you'd want to necessarily get this on demand because you do have to have last 7 days, 30 days. Now, it's not a real-time denials. This is a historical report, but you could do a 7-day denial report on demand, I suppose. But again, I think denials is a good batch report. And we do denial graphs now as well in 9.1. Combined feature, I mentioned that this is a good report if you have the same tool, same feature on multiple license servers. This is a good batch report so that you can see monthly or quarterly, how much you're using the licenses on each of the specific servers. In this case, we've got NX 13100N running on 2 different license servers. You can see the 2 different license servers down here, different tags. And then the black is the combined total. But again, this is only applicable if you have the same tool running on multiple license servers. But this makes a great batch report if you do on a, say, 30-day or a 90-day basis. And this is the typical batch report screen, shows all of your batch reports in one place. And just so that you know, it's the URL creates the report. So you create the report one time, and you would copy the URL and paste it into this URL box, give it a user-friendly name, and then it's either a graph or a table, or it's weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. And then you can deliver it either into a folder, and if you do, then you need to have a path in here to the folder, or it's email like you do down here. I've got email to this person, or drop it into these particular folders, and you could have multiple folders. So you could have a folder for MATLAB, another folder for NX, another folder. So it's up to you how you want to set up your folder system, but you would need to create those folders in advance. So when you're creating the batch report, you can specify the path to that folder for that report. And then, of course, you need to let people know that the batch reports are in those folders. So delivery of emails is pretty straightforward. You put in an email address here. We cannot put in multiple email addresses, but you can create an alias email address. So if you want a group of people to receive the batch report, you just create an alias and put that alias email address in here, add report, and it's done. Of course, this does require that you have your mail system set up. Batch report notes. Again, useful for long generation time reports. So there are some reports, as you may be aware, that take quite a while to generate. And so those are the best reports to put into a batch because they're done in the middle of the night. And then they're there when you get in, Monday morning or first day of the calendar month. And you don't have to wait while they generate. Created in the middle of the night. Weekly reports are delivered in the middle of the night on Mondays for the last 7 days. monthly reports are delivered on the first calendar day of the calendar month, and it's the last 30 days of data. Quarterly reports, first day of the fiscal calendar quarter, for the last 90 days. I just want to give you a sense of what kind of information is it delivering and when is the report delivered. And I already talked about how batch reports are delivered, either through email, in which case you do need to have your mail server set up or it won't work. And again, you can create aliases if you want multiple people to receive the, the report, or by folders, which you need to have those folders set up in advance, and you can have multiple folders. Those folders do need to be on the LAMUM server, just so that you know. So creating batch reports, there's two ways of creating batch reports. So you create the report that you want. In this case, we've got, NX13100N. This happens to be a weekly history graph. And in 9.1, you get this kind of a view. And the reason I've done this is because after 9.0, you've got this kind of graph. And this little button right here says Create Batch Report. That's what you click for the history graph and the denials graph that appear this way after 9.0. If you are prior to 9.0, then all your graphs are going to look like this. And you're going to look, when you put your cursor inside the graph, you're going to see this little box down at the bottom here. It says Create Batch Report. And you click on that, and that takes you directly to, back up to this page. Whenever you click on that Create Batch Report button, you're going to see the URL is already going to be in there. It's going to be graph or table. The frequency you need to set as either weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly. And you need to put in a user-friendly report name. You need to do that. I'm going to talk about naming conventions in a minute, but you need to put in a report name and then how you want it delivered, either through email or into a folder, and then hit Add Report. So it's pretty straightforward, but it will depend if you're doing a graph batch report, whether the graph looks like this or like this. So some of them have the Create Graph Batch Report button here, and some have the Create Batch Report button inside of the actual picture itself. Now, this is a more slick graphing tool. Currently in 9.1, this graphing tool is good for history graphs and denial graphs. In 9.2, we'll have this available also in the combined feature graph and in the concurrency graphs. So we're just expanding the number of graphs that look like this. But prior to 9.2, you're going to have to perhaps just click on that button down there. The end result is the same. Whether you click on that Create Batch Report or that batch report, it's going to take you to this page. This button is going to be this URL field is going to be completed. You don't need to mess with that. Just give it a user-friendly name. Graph or table. Needs to be clear. Is it a graph or is it a table? In this case, they're all going to be graph, right? It's going to be already set up. If you're coming in through a graph, the graph field's going to say graph here. But you do need to specify the frequency and how you want it delivered. That's pretty much it for graphs. And I'm explaining this because creating batch reports for graphs is different than tables. So creating table batch reports is really, I think, easier. So in LAMUM, all table reports have this little drop down here next to the submit button. You've got display report, you got export to Excel, or create batch report. So if you're trying to, whatever report you've got, this happens to be a group detail report from MATLAB on this server. I generate the report that I want. Yep, I want this report weekly. I come over here to the drop down, I come down and hit create batch report, and it takes me again back to this page. The URL is completed. You give it a user-friendly name. This will say table, and then how frequently do you want it? Weekly, monthly, quarterly, and then how do you want it delivered? So in that sense, it's the same the same as the graphs, but it's just how do you get that URL in there? And from here, graphs, you get it from these buttons. From a table, you get it from selecting create batch report, hit submit. And again, this report will generate weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever you want. A little note on naming convention. So it's important, best practices suggest that you establish a proper naming convention for both on-demand reports and your batch reports. Be consistent, whatever you choose, be consistent. Because you can get out of whack, if you're calling it one thing here and something different over here. So whatever naming convention you choose, stay with it. On demand, these are some of my recommendation for on-demand reports. Again, these are ones you're going to click on. It's going to bring up the most current set of data. I would use tool / tag and then the report name itself. And here's an example. So I want to see MATLAB on server A current checkouts, or I want to see MATLAB on server A 7-day heat map. So those become your quote user-friendly names for on-demand reports. That's my recommendation, but you can, again, do whatever you can call it whatever you want. For the batch reports, it's a little different. Again, I would recommend this nomenclature: frequency, the tool tag, and the report name. So examples, this is a weekly MATLAB on server A history graph. This is a monthly MATLAB on server A concurrency graph. This is a quarterly MATLAB on server A zero usage report or table, whatever you want to call it. But the report name is here, the tool and tag name is here, and then the frequency of the report is here. I think this represents best practices, but you may want to have it listed by the tool name, the report name, and then the frequency. It's totally up to you, but just pick something and stay with it. Be consistent. So now I'm going to go live and see how some of this stuff works. So I'm going to go to this is 9.1. And the first thing I want you to see, if you don't know how to get to this is the 8181 port. See, I'm up here in the URL, 8181. You have to come in through the login page. You do need a username and password. You do not want to set up favorites or batch reports through 81. That's not true. You can set up batch reports through 8181. It automatically changes it to 8182. But for all intent and purposes, all your favorite and user dashboard reports need to be created from the 8182 port. So how do you get there? Well, you can change the URL. It's 8182/LAM monitor, and it'll take you there. There is an easier way. If I go to the Home tab, right mouse click on the Home tab and say Open New Window. So now I'm in the 8182/LAM monitor, and this is the port that you want to be in when you create favorites or user dashboard hyperlinks, because this is the URL that will take you directly to where you want to go. So let me show you some on-demand favorite links. So my little favorite buttons here. I happen to be using Chrome, but you can use Firefox or IE, whatever you want for a browser. So I'm going to say I want current checkout overview, and I want to come here as a favorite in this browser. So all I do is click on that. And I wanted this case. I've already done this ahead of time. So normally I'd have to type that in, all tools, current checkouts, and just say done. So now if I go to my favorites list, I can't remember where they're at here, bookmarks. If I wanted to come to this report, all I do now is just click on that, all tools, current checkouts, and it takes me right to this page. So that's the favorite approach, and it's specific. That favorite that I just created is specific to this browser that I'm using right now. So again, other folks, if they want that favorite in their browser, you could copy and send them this, and they could save it then as a favorite, but they'd have to give it the user-friendly name again. The other thing you can do if you wanted to save this as a I would copy this, and if I want to put this into a dashboard, again, I would bring up whatever dashboard I'm using, and I don't know, let's say this is my dashboard here, and paste it here like I did before. That's the URL, and rename it like I using edit hyperlink, and this is the overview, all checkouts overview. And keep going like that, however you want to do it. You could make up your own dashboards, but it's based on, you need to be in this 8182 view. That's the view that you want to save. That URL is the one you want to save. And then give it a user-friendly name, because some of these URLs are going to get really, really long. Let me give you an example. Let me go to current MATLAB. Well, let's go to the overview. And I only want to see the MATLAB stuff as gas gauges. So I've got 3 servers with MATLAB on it. So I'm going to select gauge display. So now notice my gas gauges are just MATLAB. I think that's pretty cool. I want to save this as a favorite, and I'm going to call it MATLAB current checkouts. Notice this URL doing the same thing here. Copy that. Go to my Word document. Paste it. That's a big, big, big URL. So I just rename it. Whoops. And I want to call it MATLAB current checkouts. And that's how easy it is. Now, whenever I click on that, it's going to show me just the MATLAB stuff. And, you know, I could do it. If you don't believe me, I could go ahead and do it, but it's going to bring up this page. But what's cool is now that URL is not just specific to my browser. I can send this dashboard off to whoever I want. And then they can, you know, click on any of these hyperlinks. Notice the hyperlinks are all here, and it can take them to these reports. So, and you can get really fancy. You could make this more of an outline form. You know, you can do whatever you want to make this look pretty and more user-friendly. But it's these links here that are critical. They have to be from the 8182 port, and they need to have a user-friendly name so people know, you know, what the heck that is. Let's see, where am I at here? So looking at batch reports now, let's say that I want to create a MATLAB graph for demo. This is called MATLAB for demo, MATLAB demo server, MATLAB. And this is a weekly report. So again, this is the most current graph for MATLAB, and I want to create a batch report. So I come down here, and now it sets it up. So the URL to create that batch report is already set up. It's a graph. I want to give it a name. Now, if I use my, you know, normal convention here, I would choose, you know, weekly underscore MATLAB and then it would be, you know, whatever the tag name is. And then the tool is MATLAB graph. And then how do I want it delivered? So let's say I want to just send this to email. I want to send it to me. And then add report. And that's pretty much how easy it is to use. And once it's set up, if I wanted to preview it, for instance, this is the one that I just created. If I want to preview it, I can just do that and hit preview, and it actually shows me, what the report's going to look like. And so the way I've just set this up is it's going to come to me. This is the report that I just put in. It's going to come to me on a weekly basis, which means Monday mornings I'll see that graph. So I mean, I could go on and on with different reports. Let's do a user detail report from same tool for MATLAB. So again, these are all the people that have used MATLAB, in this case the last 7 days. And as I indicated before, so you have the option of exporting this table off to Excel or create batch report. So if I create batch report, hit submit, the URL is already there for creating the report. It's a table, and this is a weekly MATLAB /tag, and this is the user detail. Again, you're going to try to use the same nomenclature, same format convention for each of your report names so they make sense. It's already set to weekly. And then how do I want it delivered? I want this delivered to me, add report, and that's it. So again, that's how easy it is. Now you have the ability here in the batch report tab. I'm in the batch report tab right now. You can edit the report names here. This is, I think, in 9.0 or 9.1, I can't remember. But in that version, you can edit the report name from here. You can edit how you want it delivered. So if I want to change it, I want to have this emailed instead of put into a folder, put in the email. Maybe you want to email it to a different person. You can change it here. Just click update. So it's easier to kind of maintain these batch reports in the current version. So if you're not at 9.0, you should be. I think some of this is 9, even 9.1. 9.2 doesn't really add anything in this area, but so that's adding batch reports. So I'm going to leave this open here because we may end up having to come back for questions. So I'm going to go to the next slide, which is troubleshooting. So what happens if the hyperlink doesn't work? You set up a hyperlink for a favorite or for a user dashboard and it's not working. So if it doesn't bring up the report, some of the things that could be wrong is the server or the daemon could be down. Obviously, if it's down, it's not going to generate the report. Or maybe a firewall or permission issue has crept up between the user and the LAMUM server, and they can't get to the report. Or maybe the hyperlink is broken. I mean, if you've moved LAMUM to a different server, then the hyperlink might not work, as an example. So those are some things that you might check if all of a sudden the hyperlink stops working in a user dashboard or in a favorite. Generally speaking, things don't change a whole lot as far as, you're not going to throw up a firewall or permission statements. That shouldn't be a problem. Generally speaking, the server and the daemon don't go down. And so therefore, typically the hyperlink doesn't get broken. So it should always pretty much work. If batch reports aren't showing up for some reason, maybe the mail server is not set up properly or it's down. This requires, particularly if you are Sending the batch reports by email, obviously the mail server needs to be down. If they aren't showing up into a folder, then you might want to look and see if does the folder still exist? Is it still in the same place? Did something happen to the path? That could be a problem. If for some reason somebody edited the report type is either graph or table. Let's say you set it up as a graph, but somebody inadvertently changed it to table. It won't show up. A graph has to have a graph report type, and table has to have table report type set up based on that information. Or if you have an incorrect email, you ask to have it sent by email, and for some reason the email address changes, and that email address is no longer valid. So you can go in there and change that. Folder missing, again, it won't deliver if the folder's missing. And again, you can use that preview to see if it still works. If it's still showing up as a preview, then there's something else wrong. So those are some ideas on, if you do have problems with the hyperlinks, the favorites stop working, the dashboard links stop working, take a look at some of these things. If batch reports stop being delivered, maybe look at some of this stuff. When in doubt, if you're having problems, you can just type support@teameda.com, and maybe we can help you diagnose the problem. So kind of summarizing here, one of the biggest advantages to LAMUM is the ability to set up favorites in your browser and or these user dashboards. It makes everybody's life easier. The dashboards might take you out of the loop too. Let everybody go see the reports that they want. They can create their own reports. You may want to go sit down with your manager and go through all the reports that are possible and let them decide which reports they want on demand and what reports do they want as a batch. So hopefully after today's webinar, you guys know, what's a typical on-demand report, what's a typical batch report, and then you can set them up accordingly for your boss. So let me open it up now to questions. Oh, I'm sorry, I did not. Let me go back to, I can't remember who it was, wanted me to show how to create a zero-use batch report. Is that you, Paul? Yes. So let me show you how to create a zero-use batch report. There's two ways of generating zero use. This is zero use by tag. Each of these is a unique tag. So, if I do zero use table for NX, I pick a time period, I generate the report. You need to generate the report at least once. This is one of the reports that takes some time to create. So yes, the first time you're going to create this report, it's going to take a little bit of time. Actually, let me do a different report. Let me do that on this one right here. It has less features. 7. Yeah, while that's generating, let me also show you a different zero-use report. If I go back to this report here, there is also one up here under history. It's called the Comprehensive Zero Usage Report. So this one gives you zero use across all of your tags, as opposed to this is zero use just for a specific tag. Obviously, this one is going to take more time to develop, to generate, than this one. Let me go back to, hopefully the other one's done now. Still thinking about it. I don't know why it's taken so long. Let me try zero use for a day, see what happens. Well, this will come up eventually. It's going through every feature to find out if there's any usage in that time period. Come on. Again, my demo is probably running slow for some reason, so it might come up faster. So if you can generate a zero use report, as you normally would, let me just go here and show you. You're going to generate the report, pick a time period, generate the report, and then well, it's not showing me the options here for Excel or create batch report because nothing showed up. It only does it if there's a table there. So essentially, yeah, you got to wait for it to generate, and then you'll have an option there for create batch report. Click submit, and again, it takes you to this page. This will be filled out. You'll have table there. You'll need to give it a report. How often is this a weekly zero usage report on MATLAB demo or whatever the tag name is, and set it up that way. So I don't know if that answered your question, Paul.
Well, the main thing was is I just wasn't sure whether I had to do anything to get the real zero usage. Right now I'm running reports and it tells me that I haven't used a particular feature,
Yeah.
but I don't know if I just don't have if I don't have my frequency set up often enough to catch the short time that it's being used, or if it really hasn't been used. And so I wanted to generate a zero usage report by a group of features to see whether or not I really do have zero usage or not.
Well, again, zero usage is either by tag. So it's going to look at all the features at a given tag, and if it hasn't been checked out, then it's going to show up in the zero usage report. So it's either this by tag or it's this one, which is comprehensive across all your tags. And again, this is going to take a while to generate.
Okay.
But once it's created the table once, then you can select it for 7 days. You select weekly, monthly, quarterly. You don't need to regenerate it for weekly or regenerate it for quarterly. You just create it one time. And the main thing is be able to, as I said before, you got to be able to, see the drop down. You need to see the export to Excel or the create batch report button. You need to create that. And then once you create the batch report, then you can come over here and change it to weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. Maybe you only want it once a month, but it will be the
Okay.
7-day table or the quarterly table or monthly table. Okay.
Okay.
Does anybody have
Great.
any?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there any other questions? We're back over here again. Were there any other chat questions? Let's see. I have Tom get my, okay, I think that's Kevin, to me in the new version. Kevin, I don't know what you mean. To me in the new version.
Oh, I sent you another message before that.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I'm looking at it now. Is there a comprehensive report in the history tab for all features?
Yeah, the same question I had last time. Is the new version coming out? Is it going to have a comprehensive report?
Yeah. So I know what you're talking about, Kevin.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was under batch. This is feature usage by tag. So this is 9.1. So what this does is it gives you a batch report in one thing for all features at a given tag. So you would select your tag here, demo 2, and then so these are all the features at demo 2, you know, and I can actually be selective on which ones I want. And so it's going to generate all those reports as a table. So right now, this is a table. It's going to give me feature usage by table for whatever time period I choose, 7-day, 30-day, whatever.
Okay. Where are you at
From
with
this
making the
tag. Now,
graph?
what we're adding, what Kevin is asking, we're adding the same thing, but instead of table, it'll be feature use by tag graphs. So it'll be these history graphs, like here. It'll be a whole set of them in one report. It'll be one contiguous Excel spreadsheet or one contiguous PDF that has all of those graphs in one place. So it'll be a whole set of graphs for a given tag. All right, that's what he's referring to. This is by tag tables, and the next one in 9.2 is going to be feature usage by tag graphs.
Yay!
You're the only one, Kevin, that said hooray. So
yeah.
Anybody got anything else?
Oh, I also have a question about are you guys doing anything with the denial reports for 9.2?
Well, right now we've got the overview, we got denials by users, we've got denials heat maps,
Okay.
and then we have over here we got denials by tag.
Okay.
No, I don't think there's anything new on denials. We got the denials graph. Maybe that's new. I think that's new in 9.2 because I don't see it on here.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe oh, here's the graph. I'm sorry, it's in there. When you do denials overview, you're going to see all your denials by feature, and then you can see denial history graph here.
Okay. Awesome.
And this is where you would see your heat map by tool here. So each of these is a unique feature and tag combination.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Say I wanted to see that graph. Does that graph show individual denial? Like, does it count the amount of denials?
Well, that's under table.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be under table. You're going to see all the individual counts by user and all that.
Okay. So tell
That's
me, like,
now. I mean, you have that now. If you're in 9.1, it's in there now.
Okay. Is that a new enhancement?
What's that?
I'm just kind of curious to know if anything with the denial reports has changed from the previous version to the newest version, 9.1.
No. I mean, in the older versions, all we had was a table. We didn't have the heat map. We didn't have the graphs. So in 9.1, we added the heat map and the graphs for the denials.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Well, listen, thank you all for attending. I'm going to stop the recording now.